I watched my neighbor Mark panic about money when he was forced into early retirement. He was 55 years old and thought his life savings were completely locked away. The reality is that millions of Americans fall into this exact same trap every year. They think tapping their retirement accounts early means losing 10% right away. That is exactly what the Internal Revenue Service wants you to believe at first glance. But there is a massive hidden exception that completely changes the game for older folks. Keep the number 50 in your head because it will make sense in just a few minutes. I am 35 and already planning my exit strategy because of what I learned from him. Working in the corporate world of the United States of America wears you down fast. Watching older colleagues get pushed out before 60 made me look into the tax codes. I found something called the Rule of 55 and it blew my mind completely open. It allows you to pull money from your 401k without that huge penalty. You just have to leave your job in or after the calendar year you turn 55. You do not need to be fired or laid off for this specific tax loophole to work for you. You could simply quit because you are tired of the daily grind and want to walk away. Nearly 40% of workers retire earlier than they actually plan to do so. That statistic from last year really made me stop and reconsider my own career path. Honestly, I never realized how fragile our long-term financial plans actually are today. But here is the massive trap that catches so many smart people completely off guard. This rule only applies to the plan tied to the specific employer you just left behind. It does not cover your old retirement accounts from companies you worked for years ago. If you roll those funds into an individual retirement account, you ruin the whole thing. My uncle almost made this exact mistake last year when he consolidated all his money. I had to tell him to stop the transfer before he locked himself out of this benefit. Let us walk through a real-world example so you can see exactly how the math plays out. Imagine you have $500,000 in the plan at your current company. You also have $200,000 sitting in an account from a previous job. You turn 55 in March and decide to finally leave the workforce in November. You can start withdrawing from that $500,000 account with zero tax penalties. But if you touch the other $200,000, you will get hit very hard. The government will take 10% of that older money right off the top immediately. And remember that the lack of a penalty does not mean this money is entirely tax-free. Every single dollar you withdraw is still going to be taxed as ordinary income for you. Taking massive lump sums all at once could easily bump you into a brutal tax bracket. You could end up handing 24% of your savings straight back to the state. It makes me sick thinking about how much of our hard-earned money goes to taxes anyway. Proper planning is the only way to protect what you have spent decades building up. Remember that number 50 I mentioned right at the beginning of this conversation. There is a massive update under the Secure Act 2.0 that you must know about. For qualified public safety workers, the age threshold actually drops down to 50. This covers brave people like private sector firefighters and corrections officers too. Data shows these high-stress jobs take a serious physical toll on the human body fast. A lot of these workers simply cannot physically make it to age 55 on the job. My buddy Dave is a firefighter and his knees are completely shot at 42 years old. Knowing he can access his funds at 50 gives him a huge sense of mental relief now. The government finally did something right by recognizing the reality of their hard work. You really need to check your own specific plan documents before making any big moves. Some corporate plans do not allow partial withdrawals after you leave the company. They might try to force you to take out the entire balance all at once in a lump sum. That would trigger a massive tax bill that could ruin your entire retirement strategy. I read a report showing that over 1 million people overpay on retirement taxes yearly. It is staggering when you actually sit down and look at the raw numbers on paper. This is why having a clear financial roadmap is more important than it has ever been. Here are 3 actionable steps you can take today to protect your financial future. First, call your human resources department and ask for your summary plan description. Read the section on early distributions carefully to see if they allow partial payments. Second, do not roll your current money into an individual retirement account right away. Leave it exactly where it is until you are absolutely sure about your cash flow needs. Third, sit down and project your ordinary income taxes before you withdraw a single dime. Understanding your exact tax bracket will save you thousands of dollars in the long run. I try to do this every single year just to make sure I am on track for my own goals. My friend Sarah skipped this step and ended up owing $10,000 last April. That mistake wiped out a huge chunk of the savings she worked so hard to put away. We are navigating a very complex system that is designed to trip us up at every turn. They do not teach this stuff in high school or college, which is a complete tragedy. You have to take control of your own financial education if you want to survive today. There is a second thing I want you to remember about your old retirement accounts. I mentioned earlier to keep your old plans separate from your current workplace plan. But you can actually roll old accounts into your current active one before you quit. Doing this simple move brings all your money under the umbrella of the 55 rule. It is a brilliant strategy that financial advisors charge thousands of dollars to share. Just verify that your current employer accepts outside transfers before you begin. That tiny detail is the difference between a wealthy retirement and a total disaster. Looking back, I wish my parents had known these rules when they were finishing work. They struggled for years because they were terrified of touching their own investments. Information truly is the ultimate form of power when dealing with government rules. It completely changes how you view your options when the daily grind gets too heavy. Knowing you have an out provides a unique kind of peace that money can hardly buy. Take a hard look at your accounts tonight and see what your true timeline really is. You might just realize that your finish line is much closer than you ever imagined.